and it opened up. All right, this is what I already have. So I wanted to show you guys a couple of things about the timeline that help. So the first thing is I have a transition between day and night because I thought it'd be kind of cool if it got darker and then the fire lit. So I have two backgrounds. I did not make like little, you see how it fades each frame and it gets darker and darker until it's night. I did not make this in between. I just made a little effect on the timeline. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead and do one at the end. I'll have it go back to nighttime again. All right. So I'm going to duplicate a frame. I'm going to turn off the leaf in this frame. All right. And then I'm going to switch to night. So I made the night visible. If I select these two layers by holding down Shift, and then I can do a transition. So there's this little like tweens animation frames. So it's these little dots right here. And I can tween, I can add 5 frames with the next frame. So I can tween with the next frame, and I can tween just the selected layers. So these two layers are selected, night and day. You see? So you have a whole bunch of options. So right now I'm tweening frame 26 with the next frame, that's frame 27. And all I'm doing is I'm going to add 5 frames of transition in between those 2 frames. And I'm just tweening the selected layers. So I held down Shift and I selected day and night. And then I click OK. And it is going to add a tween in between these frames. Now, I didn't select the firewood, so the firewood is not visible, but you can see that it just went with day to night. All right, so I would have to go back and individually make the firewood visible on each layer because I didn't select that it was visible. I just did the ones that I wanted. So that's how you do a transition. So that's like a special effect. There is a tween animation frames, and it's these little dots next to the new layer. Okay, so you can tween, which is kind of fun. Another thing that I did is that I made the fire reverse. So if you look, it goes here, 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 and then I made it go back down. So then I took those frames and I went and made it reverse. So you can copy your frames and you can make it reverse. So let's make this leaf reverse, okay? I'm going to take, I'm going to delete my tween that I just did. All right, so to delete your frames, you hold down Shift, you select the frames that you want, and then you go to the trash can and you hit delete frames, okay? Now, to reverse your frames, you're going to select the frames that you want to reverse. So I have frames 20 through 26 selected. And there's a little window where you can go to like your options, this little list window icon. You can go to your options, and I can reverse them or I can copy them. So I'm going to go to copy frames. Did they copy? They did not copy. All right, so 20 to 26, I can go to, all right, I'm just going to hit the duplicate button. There's another way. So instead of copying them that way, you could just click on the plus sign to duplicate the selected frames. So you can do this with one frame, but you can also do it with a whole bunch. So if you have all these selected, you can duplicate them, and then they're still selected. And now I go up here and reverse them. So I go to reverse frames. and it flips them over. So now I have the leaf starts here. Let's make this window a little bit bigger. All right, so the leaf comes onto the scene, and then I made it reverse, so the leaf goes back. So the leaf goes all the way back, and it also goes back to nighttime. This is going to be a really weird little animation. All right, so you can copy and reverse your frames. So that's just little things to know while you guys are, I was talking about tweens in Animate, Seth, but this is how you do a tween in Photoshop. It's this little tween button, so you can go back and forth. So if you guys are picturing some sort of transition or you want something to go in reverse, you don't have to make the layers for everything to go in reverse. If you want to reuse something for the reverse, all you have to do is copy your frames and then reverse it. So I wanted you guys to know that before you make your layers. What I would like for you to finish today, you do not have to have a timeline today, what I would like for you to finish today is you should have a background layer all done. If I wanted to put clouds on here, I could have cloud 1, and I take my paintbrush and I make something with a soft edge, and I choose a white color and make my brush bigger with right bracket, and then I make some kind of like little cloud thing, right? And then I would make a new layer and I would do cloud 2, and the nice thing about this is that now these clouds are on separate layers, so I can move them independently from each other. And then something else to know, if you guys are making something that is going to go off screen, you see how the edge of my cloud got cut off because it was off screen? If it's going to go off screen, you can move it and continue to paint and just keep moving it around, because it can be off screen and then come on, but if you paint it to the edge, it'll just have a sharp edge of the canvas. So you want to paint it and then move it over. So you could do your stuff like that. And remember, the reason we're not doing the timeline yet is because now my clouds are on every single frame, which actually I don't mind terribly much, but it's kind of irritating. So, so you have your clouds and you can put them on separate layers. But if they were attached to the day background, then I wouldn't be able to move my clouds without moving the sky and the ground. So you want to put them on separate layers, okay? So my fire, remember I just made a whole bunch of different fires. I made a big one, and then I made a big one flipped over. It's just the same thing, just copied and flipped over. And then I made one where I erased some of the edges. And then I made one where I made the big one smaller, so it's just a smaller one. And then I have some more where I just erased little pieces and left it. So that's how I made the fire. The leaf, remember I made one leaf and then I just rotated and transformed that leaf over and over again. Okay, Caleb?
Could you show how you did the fire one again, please, if you can?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make the fire again. And then I'm going to send you guys into breakout groups so that you can get some animating done. So basically, let's start with the fire over again. I'm going to turn off the leaves, and I'm going to turn off the clouds so that you can see better. So here's my fire. So what I did to make this was I just took a new layer for the fire, and I just took my paintbrush and I found a color that was similar to fire. I don't like that color. Okay, found a color that was similar to fire, and then I just started to paint fire. So I I decided to go really big first and then make it smaller by erasing. So I just painted some fire, and then to make my fire look more realistic, what I did was I added some other colors. So I made like, if you look really closely at fire, there's like some very bright yellow sections of it, and then sometimes in the middle of fire there's like a blue in the middle of a candle if you look really closely. So I just made like a little blue thing. Then I took my mixer brush, which is underneath the brush tool, and then you guys might remember your mixer brush because you did a little bit of your mixer brush last year when you did the cheeseburger assignment. And I just kind of like mixed it around a little bit so that the transition between these colors would look a little bit more believable. So once you have a fire, all you do is you want to name your layers because you want to know what everything is. And then you right click on your layer and you duplicate your layer. So you make a copy of that layer. All right? And now in this copy, I'm going to erase with the eraser tool. I'm going to erase some of this fire. I actually changed my brush. Let's make it a little softer edged. You can erase with a soft edge too. So I'm just going to erase some of my fire to make it look like a little smaller. All right, so now I have a fire like this and a fire like this. So I just like copied it and erased. Another thing you could do is you can copy it. So right click and duplicate layer, and then you can copy it, and then you can transform the copy. So you can go to edit, transform, and you can flip it. So now the fire goes back and forth, and then you can use both sides of that as a fire. So you want lots of little versions of this to be able to make the fire have flames. Okay? So yeah, so if the fire is going to eat a piece of wood, then you might want the wood to kind of like change or disintegrate or disappear, or depending on how you imagine that. So you might want different versions of the wood. If you need to rotate the wood or you need to rotate something, you remember you have to put it on a duplicate layer and then rotate it with the transform like I did with the leaf. So if you want to rotate something, you have the leaves, and then this is literally the same layer, duplicated, and edit, transform, rotate. To make the brush bigger, you're going to hit the right bracket above enter. To make the brush smaller, you're going to hit the left bracket above enter. If you can't see this circle, you have caps lock on. So if you can't see the circle, you want to push caps lock and it will show up. All your brush controls should be at the top. You have them for the eraser and for the paintbrush. All your brush controls are at the top in this little drop-down menu next to your brush. But you can also, this is kind of a lot with your animation. You might want to have your layers in your timeline and no other panels, but there is like a brush panel that you could have. If you go to Windows, Brushes, there is a brush panel. So if you just want the brush panel out right here, you can use the brush panel to go through all of your stuff. If you don't want to go up here every time, you can put it on the side.